I don't know, Secretary Trogdon, if you wanted to give a thought about timeline and that type of thing. This is Secretary Jim Trogdon, who is my Secretary of Transportation.
Oh, thank you. Great question. And we're tracking that as well. Yes, we'd love to be finished, but if there's a contingency that the tropical storm gets here first, we'll evaluate that day by day based on, what is the weather like today on site and how, what will be required for safe operation. So we have to maintain a very safe work site as our first priority and then make great progress. So we'd love to finish before we see any impacts, but if we do see impacts, we'll adjust those on a day-by-day basis to set our work site based on what we can do at any given time.
Do you have estimates of how many people have been evacuated and how many people are still on the island right now?
Bob, any of you local folks wanted to tackle that one?
Somewhere in the neighborhood, we've got somewhere in the neighborhood of about 50,000 folks that would be affected. Pardon?
About 5 or 6 left.
Yeah, about 5 or 6 are still left on the island.
5 or 6,000?
Yes, that's correct.
And how many been evacuated, roughly? So 40, 45?
45, 50, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Can you all describe the magnitude of this? Have we ever seen anything like this before in the Outer Banks? Can anyone just give comment on that, the sheer magnitude of what we're dealing with?
Well, I think clearly the Outer Banks have faced storms before that have knocked out power, so this is not anything that is unfamiliar. And I will tell you this, the people in the Outer Banks are resilient, and even when a tough nor'easter or a tough storm comes, they're up and back and running as quick as anybody you would ever see. But this is a little bit different in that this is a man-made accident that has occurred here, and it's a different situation. But I have no doubt that they will be back and in action as quick as that power is turned back on. I know they're going to be ready to go, and they're going to be ready for people all over the world to come back to the southern part of the Outer Banks. And, if you're here, you can, and you're having to be away a little bit from the southern part of the Outer Banks, you've got the northern part of the Outer Banks, and you've got lots of good beaches and vacation spots right here in North Carolina, and we are ready for you.
A bit of a technical question, maybe. Can you describe exactly what happened? I mean, there's the excavator possibly, but in as much technical detail as possible, can you give us an example?
If you look across the street, you can see that large red crane. They were in the process of relocating the large steel casing that you see sitting on the back of that truck. And as they drove the casing down into the ground, they heard a pop. And it was at that point that they realized that something may have been amiss. When at 4:30 a.m., this all occurred at 4:30 a.m. It was very shortly after that we had crews in the vicinity trying to isolate the source of the outage. And we reached out to PCL for assistance in getting equipment over the side of the bridge, which is where our cable was located. And it was at that time that there was some conversations and that there was some realizations that it may have been potentially a result of the construction, that the cable was damaged. Does that answer your question?
So what's housed in the thing that was cut?
Oh,
what was going to be so you was relocating that big thing steel.
Right.
What's housed in that?
Our 115 kV transmission cables, and two, as you're aware, 2 of those cables were actually severed as the casing was being driven down.
So the wire goes through that. You're trying to move it over, and as you're trying to move it over,
no, it cut it into. There was like a 2-foot gap between the 2 pieces of cable. So in order to bring those pieces of cable close enough together to make a splice and repair them, we had to excavate the area directly behind us where we spliced the cables about 2 Decembers ago, a year and a half ago. And we were fortunately that we had slack in that area that we could make the cables meet and perform a splice and repair the cable. As you know, we have repaired one of the cables. We are currently continuing to excavate the area to expose the second damaged cable so that we can begin repairs on that as well as soon as possible. But simultaneously, I mean, we're aggressively pursuing options simultaneously to get this power restored. So the second option is to build an overhead transmission line on the east side of Highway 12, which you can see the first pole has been set this morning. And so whichever process achieves the goal to restore power to the visitors and residents of Hatteras and Ocracoke Islands, then we will energize this transmission line just as soon as it is humanly possible, as quickly and safely as possible. Thank you.
So I'm going to, oh, sorry, yes, Julie, yes.
WRL has been getting a lot of phone calls and emails from viewers who had vacation rentals this week or
Right.
last week, and they're saying that the rental companies are refusing to give them their money back. This is not a natural disaster. Have you been hearing from a lot of folks like that?
We've heard something about that, and one thing I'll do is talk to the Attorney General to talk about what that situation is. And the property insurance is an important part for rental as they come in. So we'll be working on that issue along with the Attorney General to find solutions for that problem as well. And I'm going to head down south and visit some of the residents and some of the business owners to get their perspective on this and to talk a little bit about the aftermath of this, because they are anxiously awaiting the power to come on as quickly as they can, and I know they are working as hard as they can to get that to take effect. One thing we have done is I've issued emergency orders so that heavy equipment can be hauled in, so that generators can be put over where they are needed. And we've asked the local officials and the electric companies, everybody, to let us know anything that they need. We will try to get it for them as quickly as we can, because we want this to be a speedy process. And I look forward to talking to some of the residents and the business people. And as soon as that power comes back on, we'll start working on those aftermath issues. Thank you all very much.